Good morning, everyone. Go ahead and start finding your way to your seat, and we'll begin in just a second. Let those folks in the lobby come in. So take just another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll begin the program. All right, well, good morning. Looks like most are in, and so welcome to opening meeting of the fall semester of 2021. We're really glad that you're here. I appreciate all the consideration of and the flexibility, the agility, the things that we're having to do in the world in which we live today. So I do want to welcome you, and we're optimistic about the fall semester, and we know that you'll do your part to make sure that all of us can be as safe as possible. So just want to say that to you. We're glad that you're here. I want to acknowledge, as you came in today, you saw the refreshments, and once again, those were sponsored by our good friends at, maybe it's just the TTCU group. We met last week with the branch manager of TTCU. Matt was here, and we did the photo. Matthew was here. We did the photo. I think it's interesting, not only have they provided refreshments, but I think now they've provided close to $115,000 for scholarship. So let's say big thanks to the TTCU folks. Yeah. And I was supposed to advance that. So there we go. This year, last week they presented $7,500. So we really do appreciate all of the folks there, and we value those that really support scholarship. I do want to, as we begin the program and I make my comments, I want to introduce my wife, Penny, as I always do. I don't know if you can see her. She's here somewhere. There we go. And then they're behind the scenes. There's some IT folks. There's sound people. There are video folks. There are folks that have been involved. We did a walkthrough on Friday. And then this year, in her first year, is kind of coordinating the effort, is Annika Anderson. Let's say thanks to the folks that made today possible. We really appreciate that. Yeah. If you want to make my day start off well, you always ask me about this little guy. So we're happy to report that on May 23rd, believe it or not, Connor is 4. And Connor's going to school next week, and so, or no, this week, is it? Tomorrow, going to school tomorrow. So we're really proud of him. And something you may not know is that Connor will have a baby sister in January. So yeah, our family will be expanded. So I have one slide about COVID-19. I'm not going to use all the adjectives and everything that was used to describe last year. You know that. What I would say is we have to continue to be fluid and nimble. But if you go back from the spring semester, we had all of the spring semester at our 3 campuses, we had 41 known student cases from January through the end of May. We had 23 known employee cases at our 3 campuses. Over the summer, from the end of May until August 6th, we had 3 total known student cases of COVID and 4 known employee cases. Now, what I could tell you is that we fully expect the numbers to rise. We're bringing people back. We're all assembling sometime for the first time in a year, and we expect the numbers to go up. We're prepared for that. I know you're prepared for that, and we're going to do all that we can. And let me just say that for those interested in vaccinations, we have vaccinations events. They're scheduled, and you can go to the website. That was included in my statement last Friday. So the bottom line is the NSU students, faculty, staff did an awesome job last year, and I don't expect anything less this year. So those are the numbers for NSU. Now, this is one that's had a lot of discussion. People are asking me about all the time. Well, what can we do to circumvent the governor's executive order? What can we do? By God, I want to have a mask mandate. Well, we can't. It is the law. What we're seeing on Senate Bill 658 was not a governor's executive order like the state of Texas. It's not like what they're seeing in Florida. It is the law. It was passed through the legislature and signed by the governor. So at the end of the day, it says the Board of Regents of an institution within the Oklahoma State system of higher education, the Oklahoma State Regents shall not require vaccination against the coronavirus disease. They shall not require a vaccine passport and shall not implement a mask mandate for students who have not been vaccinated against COVID-19. So we're not dealing with an executive order, and some of you may applaud this. I think many of you would not. But the fact of the matter is, it is the law, and we all signed a loyalty oath that we would support and honor the state constitution and the laws of Oklahoma. So if we find ourselves, someone is contrary to the law and there's a lawsuit, unfortunately, that individual will be on their own because the Attorney General's office will not defend an employee who's not following the law. So that's my only admonishment for the semester. It is the law, we have to comply, okay? Now, I want to say something about the budget. This is an interesting budget year in that the state regents ask us to include a lot of the one-time money. So our budget really looks exaggerated. In other words, it went from 89 million to 111 million. And the reason for that is that we have, most of that is because of one-time COVID money, including a lot of money that will be prepared to be distributed to students. I want you to notice something, that we had an actual budget increase of can you see this? $755,341, of which $455,000 was restricted. We had over $1 million of mandatory cost increases. So if you do the math on that, what does that tell you? We had $300,000 really to put towards over $1 million of mandatory cost increases, because all of the COVID funds have restrictions or designations. But we also receive money for STEM workforce, nursing workforce, and teacher education shortage. Those have been embedded in the appropriation going forward. So I do want the deans and others to know those are not one-time deals. That was not a one-time deal this year. That is embedded in the appropriation as we go forward. And you can see right here, we had 1.16 million in mandatory cost increases. As I talked to the new faculty yesterday, interestingly enough, usually honoring the faculty salary card for promotion, tenure, and those types of things, usually is around $250,000, $260,000. This year, that expense was about $450,000. So there were a lot of people that promoted this year. So of the 1.16 million in mandatory cost, about 460 was the faculty salary card. The other about 450,000, give or take a little bit, was health insurance, and the rest was cybersecurity insurance. So that's very important. We had those two large expenses followed by a little bit of insurance, cybersecurity insurance. We did raise the entry-level salary at NSU for full-time folks from $9.46 an hour to $11.46. That's overdue. And then you can see right here the $26 million in one-time CARES money. So next year, when we look at our budget's going to go from 111 million down to about 90 million or 91 million. So you're going to say, what happened? Right there, one-time CARES money. Christy will say a lot about that. What I need to say to you, and Dr. Landry and Dr. Freeman are going to talk about enrollment and retention, but this is important. We've been going through these budget retraction and budget cuts since 2016. Our budget margins are tight, and we built this year's budget based on a flat appropriation, flat enrollment, and that was compared to last fall of 20, not fall of 19. So right now, I believe we're on target, but we've got to be there on target on Census Day. Otherwise, we'll have to make budget modifications, and they'll be immediate. So we all have a role in retention. We all have a role in recruitment. And let me do a big shout. I know some of you have been very busy with recruitment. You've been doing call nights, you've written letters, you've done an enormous amount of work, and I just want to say thank you, but we can't let up. Our budget margins are appropriately tight, and so we've got to hit our credit hour production estimates, okay? Now, we're rolling out a stipend program in September. If you were here and you were a full-time employee on March 13th, 2020, you say, why March 13th, 2020? That is the day the federal government marks time with COVID-19. So if you were here, you're going to get the equivalent of a 5% stipend in the September payroll that's based on your salary as of March 13th, 2020. Not what your salary might be as of July 1 or August 1, 2021, but what your salary was. And then employees hired between March 14th and August 31st, they'll get a stipend of $500. So we do want to recognize those that were here, those that worked in some very difficult circumstances. And that cost is about $2 million. So I appreciate the cabinet, the Budget Oversight Committee for working hard to carve out those funds. I always try to share some themes each year, and these are things that I'm watching. And if you're watching, I realize November 22 is really in next year's budget, but the rhetoric is already starting. It's already starting. Well, who's going to be what? Who's going to take over the Senate? Who's going to take over the House? And starting in the state of Oklahoma, you're going to see all kinds of social issues that people are jockeying on one side or the other. So get ready. It's going to happen in the big way at the national level. We're seeing $600 million more investment in National Science Foundation. What does that mean? I'm seeing more grants to science related. That's important. And then I want to point out COVID-19 Lambda. Lambda is the next variant. It was identified in Peru in December. It's now in 29 countries, including the United States. So we're not finished with Alpha, we're not finished with Delta, and then there's Lambda, and no one knows what it's going to be like. But again, I would encourage you to vaccinate, watch your distance, wash your hands, and what's the other one? Wear a mask. Thank you. Just lost my train of thought. I was impressed this year to learn that the GI Bill gets $12 billion. We are a veteran-friendly campus. There are opportunities to reach more veterans, so that's something we should be working on. Free college for families, that's out there. That's been part of different platforms. If you make less than $125,000 a year, you should get free college. There's no such thing as free. Somebody has to pay for it. So I don't know where that goes. You're all watching the Borders. You're watching the Dreamers. I'm not going to philosophize about any of that. Just know that it's there. This is one that I think is interesting. It's in a lot of literature. Will those low-income students that disappeared during COVID, will they come back? We serve a lot of low-income students. So we want them to be here, and our recruitment efforts show that. But that's a very interesting question at the national level. Student borrowing practices, they're borrowing at all-time high, and many of them are borrowing to support their extended family. That may be necessary for some, but the long-term effect of that when it comes to repayment is difficult. The Higher Education Reauthorization Act, it's not going to happen. That means we just stay in the same version that was approved 16, 18 years ago. So it doesn't mean that we're not approved. It's just that there's not going to be a new. And then the mental health crisis. If I could raise, and I don't want you to raise up the lights, but it's very interesting what usually about 8% of college students are seeking health care, mental health, and that number across the United States now is about 26%. So COVID has certainly created some crises that at a level that are unprecedented. And then differential accreditation. I find this one fascinating by what that means. And I put this on here just to say that even HLC is no longer a regional. They are inviting other entities to be accredited. Where one time from the 40s when those entities were created by the Congress, you were limited by state to certain regions. They're no longer limited. So I think it's interesting. Dr. Fly will be up here in a little bit, but just know accreditation is changing. State teams, the impact of Senate Bill 658, you're seeing it in public schools, Oklahoma City schools. Senator Nathan Dahm out of Broken Arrow wrote a letter yesterday to all the public schools in the Tulsa metro area that said you cannot require masks on public transportation. I don't know if you can. I know what the federal law says about transportation, but he basically sent a cease and desist letter to all the public schools. We'll see what they do. What are we going to do with the state coffers post-COVID infusion? That'll be an interesting. There's a lot of one-time money in this year's budget. There'll be a new chancellor in September or early October. At least that's the plan. We'll see what that means for public higher education in Oklahoma. And then we have something that's very critical. I saw Roy Wood earlier, but concurrent enrollment. Senator Haste sponsored a bill, and there was a task force to study all of concurrent enrollment. NSU has probably more restrictions than anyone about offering 1,000 and 2,000 level courses in Muskogee and also Broken Arrow. Fortunately, I've been appointed to this small task force to study this issue and come up with a solution. So I will keep you updated on that. But this is a big deal for Oklahoma and for NSU. Midterm elections, the McGirt decision, we're watching that. This OSHRI function and mission change. There's been a moratorium for 2 years, and now it's back, and they've changed the process. We got to watch what our sister institutions are going to do, and it may be that we need to make some function and mission changes. I'm not suggesting anything, but I do know that there are 4-year universities because of their history that also are 2-year. They get to offer associate's degree. There could be a reason why in some areas we may need to offer an associate's degree. I'm not positioning us for that. I'm just telling you we need to be watching this year. And then enrollment and retention in public higher education. Who knows? The Agile College, I have mentioned Nathan Grahl's book from 2018, and he has a new book that just came out. It's right here. And I would suggest, I'm not a paid endorser. It's up to you. It's not a big book, you can see, and it's very informative. And he says basically the last sentence, a brief increase in births in 2014 portends a temporary and complete recovery in 2020, 2031 and 2032 before the onset of continued decline in 2033. And in his book, he outlined several things. The fertility rate has dropped significantly since 2008, 2009. That's what they're calling the Great Recession. We can anticipate an abrupt drop in prospective student pool in 2026, an 8-year delayed reminder of the campuses of budget cuts in the fallout of the recession. And then in the 9 years leading up to 2016, 1/3 of public schools had an enrollment decline, and some of them had a decline of 10% or more. So the data is there. He's gone back and expanded, and not only reviewed the data, but he's expanded his data search. And for those of you that enjoy hard data, you should read the book. And again, you saw the ISBN up there, but the Agile College. Here's some good news. The enrollment of Hispanic students, 3 or 4 years ago, that wasn't happening, and it is happening. So some good news is if we adapt our market, and Dan's done a good job of reaching out to the Hispanic community, then it can help our enrollment situation. And then he says there are other institutions, and he does a phenomenal job with multiple of examples in here. So it really is a constructive book. He does a phenomenal job looking at different things: creative ownership of student success, create a sense of belonging, leverage student work, immersive experience, connecting life after college. I'm not going to go through all those. But he also said this: if we could reduce retention rates by 1/4, that would increase enrollment levels to offset a 5% decline in prospective student pool. We often think about, oh, we need a bigger freshman class, and I hope that we're going to have a bigger freshman class. But in the same breath, we also need to say, what are we going to do to change our attrition rates? Because again, a 1/4% of 8,000 is a lot when compared to an 8% or 5% in 900. So we need to make sure that we talk about both retention and retention. About recruitment and retention. If you came in, as you came in this morning, you saw outside the plaza, the Veterans Monument. I want you to mark your calendars right now. This is the only capital project I'm talking about because it is a big event on Veterans Day, 11/11 at 11. Please be there if you're interested in a paver or a brick to honor one of your loved ones. Please do so. Here's the clay. These are larger than life. All branches of military are represented. You see the World War I Cherokee Code Talker. Vietnam is over on your right, my left, and so forth and so on. So we've talked about those. So please be prepared for that. We're looking forward to a great day. Scholarships, we had a modest increase in tuition. I just wanted you to know that NSU's scholarship budget is $7.6 million. $7.6 million. Peggy's going to come up a little bit and talk about how that is also supported by the foundation. But we modified that this year. We increased the in-state tuition waivers. We took money, some E&G money, and then we took some one-time cash, unrestricted dollars. And so we're putting about $200,000 more in student scholarship to offset the tuition increase. So $7.6 million, we support our students through a lot of scholarship. This is the order of presentation. Of course, beyond me, Peggy's going to come up and talk about scholarship and just a couple of other things. But then we have Dr. Landry, Dr. Fly, Dr. Freeman, Ms. Lansall, Mr. Mayberry, and then I'll come back and finish it up. And we'll be finished around 10:45 at the latest so that we can get ready for the coin wall. Before I ask Peggy to come, I do want to acknowledge the tireless effort, countless hours, almost daily interaction by the vice presidents here that started really on March 13th, 2020. And I know many of you have been involved in our COVID effort, but these folks have spent countless hours and continue to do so. And I just want to say thank you to the cabinet members for their work and your continued work to help us be safe in a COVID world. So thank you all very much. And with that, Peggy Glenn.
Good morning. Excellent. You guys are learning over the years. So as President Turner said, the university upped its scholarship budget to $7.6 million. And I wanted to announce that the NSU Foundation, which has privately funded scholarships, had an all-time high this past year. And in calendar year 2020, which is spring of 2020 and fall of 2020, we're on a different fiscal year at the foundation from the university. We provided $988,500 to private scholarships for NSU students. Many of you were a part of that. Had we been able to do our study abroad, I know my international friends are over here, international program friends, had we been able to do that, we probably would have crossed $1 million. So just a wonderful effort for the donors. And that was buoyed by our Insure Our Future campaign that we have that much to give away. It's double what we gave away 10 years ago, and hoping to cross that $1 million in 2021. So you can do more to support scholarships. You now have the opportunity to get, and you've always had the opportunity to get an NSU license plate, but this one, especially designed by our communications and marketing folks, and the process was shepherded by our graduate assistant, Shahoma Duggar, a new NSU license plate. It was voted on by alumni. And you can go and purchase that. Proceeds will go to student scholarships. So you'll see a QR code. If you're not familiar with QR codes, here's what you can do. Take your phone right now. I know you have it in your hands. Hold it up and put it on the photo function. And then you'll see a little message that says something like, you know, open in Safari. Go ahead and do that. And that'll take you to the page where you can find out more information about the license plate. There'll be another QR code later in the program. So you learned something new. We're going to be having upcoming campaign town halls. We have successfully finished a $27 million campaign, exceeded our first goal and our stretch goal, and we're getting ready to find out what the needs are. And then we will go out and have that feasibility study done on those to see what resonates with our stakeholders. So if you have ideas on how to make our programs better, our curriculum, our buildings, whatever, then scholarships in particular areas, please let us know. That we'll have one on each campus. And we've already met with our colleges, we've met with the administrative departments, but we want to make sure everybody has a chance to let us know what their needs are. Also, one final note, we'll be having our Green and White Society reception. If you've got your ribbon on, send us a picture of that. You'll be entered in a special drawing that will be held this evening at 4:30 over at the Morgan Room, and hope you will attend. We are so proud to have employee givers among our ranks, and you'll find out who versus faculty versus staff, team faculty versus team staff, who won in the 2021 academic year as far as percentage of givers. And you'll also find out how much as a whole our employees gave. It's an impressive number, and I'm so proud of each and every one of you who give back, not only through your efforts in your job, but beyond that. So please join us this evening at 4:30. If you have your ribbon on today and you haven't gotten your vaccine card holder, please stop me and I will give that to you after the meeting. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Peggy. It's good to see you this morning. And good to see all of you. Welcome back. And it's good to have you in place. And it sure was good yesterday to see students running around. So it's good to be a little bit back to normal. First, I would like to go ahead and recognize our new faculty that I met several of them yesterday. I can't see you now because of these lovely lights, but I know you're out there. So if you're new faculty, would you please stand up so we can give you a shout and a wave? Go ahead, new faculty. Welcome. Thank you. I know many of them were hired on via a Zoom interview. Some of them came in person. So we just appreciate everyone's patience as we work through this process this last year. And there are the names of them. Another good thing about this past year is always promotion and tenure. So we recognized in the spring at our event, but I'd always like to go ahead and give a shout out to those who received promotion and tenure this year. The College of Education, I'm not going to read all the names, but if you're here, would you please stand? College of Ed, congratulations. College of Liberal Arts, those of you that were promoted and tenured. I believe I have two slides there. If you're here on this slide or on, whoops, I guess not. Let me go back. Go ahead and stand up. Congratulations. See several of you here. Congratulations. And finally, last but not least, certainly the Greg Wadley College of Science and Health Professions and the NSU College of Optometry. Those promoted and tenured are displayed. Would you please stand if you're with us this morning? Thank you very much. And we also had a few hard chargers that went ahead and finished their doctorate. And I may have missed someone because I know we had a few about to graduate in August. So if you're here and completed a doctoral degree, whether you're represented here or not on the slide, would you go ahead and stand? See, I see. Yay. Congratulations. I know it had to be incredibly difficult, especially this past year, but thanks for hanging in there. This year, we're really pleased to be able to begin again our academic fellowship program. We had a lot of applications, really good applicants, and it's tough to pick we did select Dr. Ann Watson, Professor of Music. She will be joining the Academic Affairs Office sometime beginning next week for the fall semester. And this provides faculty with experiences in academic affairs, those that might aspire to a leadership position or just might be interested in learning more about how the university operates. And it gives a perspective to be a leader. So we welcome Dr. Watson to our office, and she will be engaging with some of you throughout this fall semester. Congratulations. We sent out a few emails about the merge of the NSU Online and the Center for Teaching and Learning. I'm really pleased to announce that Gerald Skinner will be the executive director. I don't know if Gerald is able to be here. He's been working with the new faculty, but if you see Gerald, congratulate him. Are you here, Gerald? Hey, congratulations. I think I'll wear my night vision goggles next time. I might be able to see you. Already working really hard to make sure our new faculty and our faculty returning are engaged and ready with all of the skills they need for Blackboard and the other applications that help us be successful with our students. I know he's hired a new instructional designer. We hope to hire one more here in the next few weeks, and also a media developer. So I'll talk in a minute and show you one facilities upgrade for the library that shows where their new home will be later this fall, but looking forward to that. And there it is. So if you've not had an occasion to go over to the library, I encourage you to walk through there, go all the way up to the 3rd floor and see what's happening. There's new furniture in place. There are some study rooms being developed, and also some construction that will house the Center for Teaching and Learning. And Christine, Vice President Lansall may also have an update on this, but I know this photo might be a little dated. I was there last week and they were actually mudding that space. So it's on target for completion later this fall. And it really helps with our concept of having more services for faculty and students located in the library commons area. There's also several new library employees. They're mentioned here on this slide. If you are a new employee of the library, would you please stand so we can acknowledge you as well? Congratulations. Now on the 3rd floor, there's a large area that will have the study space I mentioned. Those spaces have individual whiteboards. They have large monitors, so they can be reserved for individual or for group study. And there's a concept of what it will look like when it's completed. Now, moving on to what's been happening in the world of curriculum, there has been a lot going on. You've been busy and productive, you faculty. As we look at curriculog, even beginning right now, there are things that you've been working on this summer that are ready to be considered. Just looking back at last year, over the last academic year, there were 216 total proposals, 151 course proposals, and 58 program proposals. So some of those are in a different stage of development. Many have made it all the way through. We had a few more challenges perhaps this past year, as I'm sure Dr. Fly would add to that. Not only just getting things through and getting people together here on campus, but at the state level, it's we had a little bit of a backlog, but I believe we're caught up now. But just keep in mind that it does take time to process a change for curriculum. So be patient. Just don't make that be something that stops a program from reviewing. We are a continuous improvement model, looking at what we do, what's relevant to our community, what's relevant to our workforce, what's relevant for our students, most importantly, and making tweaks to our program or proposing new ones is important. So keep up the great work. I'd like to share some of the new majors and minors and certificates you may have already noticed. The College of Business and Technology has 5 new undergraduate certificates and 1 new graduate. The College of Education has 1 undergraduate minor, health psychology, and the Greg Wadley College of Science and Health Professions has a new major, freshwater sciences. And you'll notice maybe a change to the greenhouse. And again, you'll hear more about that later. That will be really important to the success of that program and how that program has experiential learning experiences for our students. They also have a new undergraduate certificate in the American Chemical Society. Now, President Turner mentioned retention and how important it is. We do have a few tools that we utilize to help us in drilling down to what is effective for retention of our students. Now, I'm going to start off by saying one of the most important things is those of you here in this room. The faculty and staff that engage with our students make the biggest difference, and they'll tell you that time and time again. Well, I remember this faculty that reached out and helped me. I remember this kind staff member that made an extra effort to help me. Those kinds of things resonate with our students, and it's important that we all do our part together to help our students be successful, to be kind, to encourage them. But a tool that we do have is called Civitas. So we've used this tool over the past year, especially to understand our retention rate is not where we would like it to be. We always want to increase the retention of our students. I love seeing more freshmen on campus, but we want to keep them. So looking at what made an impact over this past year outside of COVID, what are some other reasons that perhaps might impact persistence? So our folks in the advising office found that one of the biggest lifts for retention are those students that actually meet with an academic advisor. That results in a 7.6 lift in an undergraduate major staying with us and a 10% lift in undeclared undergraduate majors. Now we know there's a faculty mentor in place that's reaching out and also working with a student. That dual advising model continues to be very important to retaining our students. Those efforts of that team in reaching a student are particularly important with our students that have academic challenges. And again, this past year was tough. We have a lot of students that maybe had a little decline in their grade point. So reach out to those students in your class. If you see they're getting in trouble that first or second week of class, please refer them, call Julia Carlo in the advising office, get that student some help right away. Don't wait till midterm. It's not too late, but we want you to intervene early and help them because it does make a difference. Some other numbers, I know that's a hard slide to read, but we've discovered that there are other areas that do help with our student retention that helps us work with student affairs and making those things happen. So not only the advisement of our students, but being engaged in campus activities, visiting career services, maybe being involved with Greek life, or maybe being involved in a different kind of an activity on campus. Those are all important to student retention. Also looking at ways to engage our students in the BA writing lab or the writing labs that we now have located in the library. Those are also important. So all of those make an important difference in our student lives, and that can change the outcome for retention. So looking forward to next year, we want to collaborate more with other units across campus, looking not only within academic affairs, but looking in student affairs. What are some things that make a difference? So we'll continue that look into what we have in place on campus, what can help our students succeed. So this data-informed decision process, improve our equity gaps that may exist, finding out if we've got any areas there, but our bottom line is we want to retain more students. It's important, and all that you do is appreciated, but let's all push and pledge to do more. Just do more to keep our students and engage them. And if you have any questions, of course, reach out to our advising office, but I also encourage you to come to the Community and Collaboration Day. That our focus is on mentoring of students, and you will hear from Morgan Grovenberg. She's our retention specialist. She will do some presentations at that event. So please come and participate. I also wanted to mention some updates on the student learning assessment. So there is the website address that can help find some tools, whether it's development of a rubric or how to look at results. What do I do with the results from my class assessments that I've held? Also, there's several professional development opportunities that are on the website, so they will be outlined. So please get on there, can check it from time to time, but we try to precede any changes on the webpage with an email. So we will bring your attention to it. And hopefully those updates will be there next week. I understand they're still in development. Again, a plug for Wednesday's faculty mentoring of students focus for Community and Collaboration Day. We have a keynote speaker, Dr. Kendall Holderby from the University of Arkansas. He'll speak in the morning and then have a breakout session in the afternoon. And then we'll have some of our own people doing some training. We'll also have you sharing your success stories. So that's important. And we look forward to getting everyone together and finding out what we can do together to help improve our retention rate and bridge any gaps that may be there that we can help with. Now, digital measures, I usually am reminding you, please, faculty, please make sure you update your digital measures. It's very helpful for myself or Dr. Fly to go in there and pull information that you have put in there to help us do reports. But just know that that title has changed to Watermark Faculty Success. Last year, we piloted the College of Education, sending portfolios through digital measures. This year, we've added the College of Science and Health Professions. So looking at professional files coming forward to academic affairs in that mode. It was very successful, and then we had a few learning curves, but we've adjusted accordingly. So we've added one more college to this year's submission process. And if you have questions, we can talk more when I come around to the different colleges, but we do know that it is a secure process, and being able to have that information for me and reviewing is so helpful. But also looking at how the web profiles are now linked to your directory page. Check that out and make sure that you've enabled that and it's working for you. And also the eval kit for course evaluations is still in place. We have found that it continues to yield a much better evaluation rate of return. So I know you appreciate that. We've increased from about 14% to 24%. So we're seeing more student feedback. That feedback is important on our student surveys, course surveys. You may be hearing a lot about the different kinds of transfer collaborations across the area, but in particular in Tulsa Community College, we've renewed several of our 2+2s, as we call them. So we are also involved, and Dr. Fly heads up the equity transfer incentive. And it's a collaboration between Tulsa Community College, NSU, and Oklahoma State University in Tulsa. So they're targeting specific populations and pathways and focused on retention and marketing. And for us, we're looking at elementary education, cell molecular biology, and supply chain management are the three that this equity transfer is looking at. So we are been very involved with that, and is well on course to begin this fall. But also something that's very similar in title, but different in focus, is the Tulsa Higher Education Consortium. And I know Dr. Freeman is going to talk more about this in a little bit, but it has evolved from the Tulsa Transfer Project. So again, looking at our ways to serve our students in the Tulsa area or here as they transfer to us. And looking at scholarships, internship opportunities. They just hired a new executive director. So you may hear those two things in the news. They are two separate events, but we take everything that we're learning about transfer and apply it to all of our transfer students. So there's some good information we're gaining from that, from all of those initiatives. Finally, it has been quite a busy year for specialty accreditations. This past year, chemistry, social work, undergrad and graduate have received approval to continue. But coming up, if you're not familiar with what's coming up in October, is HLC. In just a moment, Dr. Fly will come up and get us up to date on where we are with all of that. But we also have some other specialty area accreditors coming to campus. So we always, we welcome our visitors. We're proud to showcase our programs. The CAPE will be here for the College of Education. NACLS will be here for Med Lab Science. Music, our amazing music program has their accreditor coming, optometry and speech language pathology. So my thanks to all of the program chairs and faculty. I know what an incredible amount of work has gone on already. You're probably in the process of going ahead and writing your final review for submission. So thank you for your work in that. I'm proud of all of the accreditation that we do have, and we continue to prepare for October's visit. Finally, the ray of sunshine for me during this COVID year has been grandchild number 6, and I'm pretty sure it's the last one. Lennox arrived about the same time as COVID, so I didn't have any pictures last October. She actually was in the hospital for quite a while after her birth, but we're really proud of all of our grandchildren, and it does provide joy during some of the times that aren't as fun, but I'm thankful for all of you. And next, I believe Dr. Fly is coming on up to share more about HLC.
Thank you, Dr. Landry. Well, I don't have grandkids. I do have a grand dog who is a Yorkie, and price per pound, I think she's probably more trouble than a grandchild would be. But when you have to pay for your grand dog's ACL surgery, that is really bad, right? My daughter's a teacher, she can't afford it. So yeah, mom and dad wrote a check for the ACL surgery. All righty. As everybody's been talking about, because it's a big deal, we are in year 10 of our accreditation cycle, which means this is it, folks. They're coming. And a lot of preparation has gone on in order to make this happen. And so I just want to, first of all, thank a large group of people. The first task is to write what's called an assurance argument. That's a self-study in any accrediting language. And we had a group of team leaders, and then they had under them another group. So we had a lot of people, probably nearly 100 people involved in this. If you were one of those people who started and helped with the first draft of the assurance argument, would you stand up and let us recognize you? I know some of you are in this room because I saw you. Please give them a round of applause. They wrote 43,000 words. We are allowed 35,000 words. So I got my little editor's pen out and did some editing. And where we are now is just under 35,000. And the draft's gone back out to those teams, and they're reading it now for consistency. They're reading it for, grammatical things. Does it make sense? All of that. After they finish, we will push it out to a wider audience. And while they're working on that, I'm finalizing the federal compliance report. And what that means is all the things the federal government makes HLC check on. That's everything from, do we have a verification for student identity so that we know the student who's taking the class is the student, is who they say they are? Do we have passwords? Do we have logins? Do we proctor exams online? All of those pieces. Do we have a definition for credit hour? You'll notice on the syllabus template, there's a definition for credit hour. We want to make it easy for our reviewers to find those. So all of those pieces are coming together because we have to provide documentation of where those are. There was a student opinion survey done in April. We do have the results. We got those over the summer. We're going to synthesize those for you. Some of them are very department specific. We're not going to put those on the website. We'll share those with departments individually. But the institution as a whole information, it impacts all of us. So you want to be able to see that as well. And we'll get that synthesized and shared with you. You know, it's one of those things with the survey, you get a bifurcated response. They either love you or they hate you. And most of it, because it was coming out about the time of commencement, they either loved our commencement policy or they hated our commencement policy. The team looks at those. If there is some theme that's running through them, they will ask us to talk more about that. I didn't see any particular themes at this time other than nobody likes COVID. Our lockdown date is September the 20th. And what that means is everything has to be done. All our evidence has to be done. All of our writing has to be done. And after that, you can expect, if your name is one of the lucky names, if you're a faculty member, someone may ask to see your syllabus. We will collect those. They pull a random sample of syllabi, and so we will pull those for them. They look at them. They're looking for things such as consistency. They're looking for things if there's a course online that's English 1113 and a course that's face-to-face English 1113, are the learning outcomes the same? You know, is the amount of work students do pretty much the same? So all of that will happen between September 20th and then when they actually come on campus. Just this morning, I haven't even had a chance to share it with President Turner yet. We are expecting a 5-member team. What we don't know is how many of them will actually be on campus. There will be at least one person who comes on campus, but depending upon team members' comfort level, there may be Zoom meetings as opposed to campus interviews. So we'll let you know when we find that out more. However many team members come, they're going to come on Sunday, October the 17th is when they start. They interview Monday and Tuesday morning, and then they write. And so part of their time here, now they will have met beforehand. They will have read all our stuff. They meet beforehand by Zoom or web conference, and they decide what they're going to ask us about. So they will have done a lot of preliminary work, but when they finish, they will have a draft, and President Turner will get an oral kind of summary of where they are on the criteria and where they think we are on the criteria. Okay, questions about that? Your next question may be, well, what to expect? There will be, I mentioned to the new faculty, there will be people in your class, whether it's online or face-to-face. When I'm a peer reviewer, I go into the online English classes. And as I shared with new faculty last year, I have a knack. You know, they'll say, oh, everybody follows the same syllabus. I can find the one, and I'm really not looking. I pick the one class that's not following the syllabus, you know, the standard syllabus. So, you know, just be mindful that there will be people in your class. Don't be shocked if somebody, I will try to let you know if they let us know, but they may not. They may ask you questions about how you ensure your courses and services are the same across delivery modes, across locations. They will have someone who goes to BA and who goes to Muskogee. Formats. We're trying to ensure criterion 3, which says whenever, however, courses are delivered. They're going to ask you questions about how you use assessment data. I was so pleased to hear Dr. Landry talk about the importance of assessment data. And that's whether you are a faculty member teaching or whether you're a student services person delivering a service. Do you do a satisfaction survey? Is there some, or do you have learning outcomes? I know that At Welcome Week, we have learning outcomes. So they're going to ask, how do you use that information? Are you just collecting it and putting it in a drawer? Well, no, we're not. We're using it. And then questions about how we implement NSU's mission, vision, and values every day. Do you remember what the mission is? Go to the website, look it up. So how can you help? Be conversant about the processes in your area. Nobody expects faculty to necessarily know what happens during Welcome Week unless you're teaching university strategies, but know the processes in your area. Review and update your web pages. You're going to get tired of hearing me say that. And I know communications and marketing is tired of seeing emails from Pam Fly. Because I will say, update this page, do this, do this, do this. Because we PDF those pages as evidence. And they will come in before they even accept the invitation to come to our institution. They're looking at our web pages. Are the links working? Is everything functioning? So please check that. Maintain current syllabi, always. Complete your web profile. Dr. Landry mentioned that's important. Because one of the ways that they look at, are our faculty qualified to teach, is web profiles a real quick, easy way to do that. Be responsive to requests. If there's a quick request, try to get that back to us. We'll try to give you a deadline when we need that. And finally, most importantly, be prepared to share your piece of NSU's story. Now, I could stop there. And I intended to stop there, but this morning, when I looked in my email, I had a piece of bad news. That news was a researcher that I had based my research on passed away. His name was Mike Rose. Anybody know Mike Rose, if you're pedagogical? Mike Rose wrote Lives on the Boundary. And it's about working with underprepared students. And so it really hit me hard. First of all, my research was based on this guy's work. And secondly, I didn't know at the time how important that work would be to the job I ended up in. And so when I read that Mike Rose died, I contacted my mentor and said, Pete, did you know Mike Rose died? And then I pulled the book off the shelf and I flipped it open. And here in my very precise ruler underlining are all the things in this book. And there are pages that are underlined. But this morning, I want to leave you with this. Mike Rose said, my students need to be immersed in talking, reading, and writing. They needed to further develop their ability to think critically, and they needed to gain confidence in themselves as systematic inquirers. They had to be let into the academic club. Just a few months before he died, on his podcast, he said, teaching is really about collaborating with someone on their own development. That's what we do here. HLC is critically important, don't get me wrong. But the proof in the pudding is what we do to collaborate with someone for their development. I want to thank you for what you do every day, and I hope you have a great school year.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about enrollment here. One of the things, as I was thinking about this morning and getting up, and I was like, man, I'm tired. And the cool thing is this school hasn't even started yet. But one of the things is there's a lot of stuff that's been happening. And this has probably been one of the most stressful years that we've had on record, for sure, for myself, career-wise. There's just been so many moving pieces, so much unknown. And trying to do all of the things, as even Dr. Fly kind of mentioned, there's all these things that are super important, but then there's the work that we have to do. And sometimes those things don't jive, they all don't work together. And so it's been a wild time. But one of the things I can tell you, as you've seen As a few folks have mentioned this already, all the freshmen are on campus, they're walking around. We're going to get to do the coin walk here relatively soon, but it's an exciting time for them. I have not seen a group of students this excited to be here than they've been in the entire time I've been here. They're just very talkative. They just want to be engaged. They want to be involved, and they want to be a part of this institution and part of the college experience for themselves. And so one of the things I'll tell you is that you're going to find some people that are super stoked. They're happy, they're excited, and they're ready for you to engage with them. And so Dr. Fly, thanks for those comments, because I think that's super important for what our students are expecting from us, whether it's your faculty or a staff member. And so we're going to talk a little bit about enrollment, and I'm not going to do the punchline first, which is the overall update. We'll get to that last, but I want to talk about recruitment. One of the things is that recruitment is upside down. This has been, again, one of the most difficult years to recruit because of what's happened in the high schools. It's been very hard to get in there. And so I wanted to thank our admissions and recruitment team, especially for all the efforts that they've done. We have went above and beyond to do all the things we possibly can. We talk a little bit about throwing Jell-O at the wall. We just hope some things stick. And we have virtually tried to do all the things that we can do. Also a shout out to all the faculty who have put in a lot of effort and time into events. There's been a monumental work to do virtual in-person events, more events than we've ever done before because of the environment that we're in, trying to figure out how do you be successful at the work we have to do, but also do it safely. And that's not a simple thing. We also have a lot of efforts from the marketing communication staff. We have put out more materials to different pockets of people and students and parents and every other thing you can think of than we've ever done before. And so again, this has been a monumental effort. And so we have been successful in that. I will not say that we have been as successful as we would like, but you know, it's one of those things you shoot for the moon and we land amongst the stars kind of thing. And so from a recruitment perspective, just as wanted to highlight this, but first time full-time is up 46 students, which is 7.4%. Transfers are up around 40 students, which is 6.5%. And our grad students are up 21.1%. So I want to thank you guys. I may have dreamed for like 100 up of each of those, but just wanted to, again, thank everybody because this is a big deal for where we're at, especially in this time and what's going on. You're going to see other numbers of other institutions shared. And we're doing very well, and that doesn't happen by accident. So again, wanted to say thank you for all those efforts. Just going to talk a little bit about some of the new things that are happening. Test optional. Every institution, I think virtually every institution in the state of Oklahoma is part of a pilot study done, and we will be test optional over these next few years. So this incoming class, not this year, but next year, will be going through the test optional piece. And there's obviously outcomes for being test optional. It still has an impact on scholarships and those different things. But that is an option that we will have in place for this next coming recruitment cycle. Expanded recruitments in surrounding states. And this has again been an effort across the board, whether it's been for missions and recruitment, marketing and communications and the faculty efforts, but we have really pushed out into our surrounding states. If you haven't noticed, other people are pushing into our area. It's natural, it's happening all across the board. The recruitment events throughout the state and NSU are scheduled. One of the things that when we leave today, our marketing, our admissions and recruitment staff are going to be outside and they'll be handing out magnets with all of our recruitment events for next year. So if you're a part of those, please grab those magnets. And so you'll have that information at your disposal and nothing will catch you by surprise about some of those events. We'll probably be adding more, but those will be more of a specialized piece. These are our biggest recruitment events. Wanted to just briefly about a workforce development task group. One of the things I think Dr. Turner mentioned in the Agile book that he was talking about is really the diversification of your offerings. And that's one of the things that workforce development really hits in on. And so one of the things is that we have a lot of workforce development stuff already happening across campus, but it's not necessarily a collective effort. And we're trying to really kind of streamline those things and so that we can really enhance our ability to attract and react to the needs of the environment, our businesses, and what's needed in this state. And hopefully, obviously, drive enrollment as well at the same time. And then EAB, this is one of those things we knew this year was going to be hard from a recruitment perspective. The cabinet tried to make a concerted effort to try to expand our ability to recruit. And so we contracted with EAB really late in this recruitment cycle, but they will be with us for this next year as well. And they will recruit in all the places that we don't normally recruit. And so we are specifically using them for that and to hopefully help drive again our applicants and admit rates up. And one of the other things that I wanted to highlight from a recruitment perspective is this is the highest applications and admitted students that we've had in the last 4 years. And so we have had a major success from that perspective. The biggest thing though is that from a learning perspective is that we did not retain as many of those admits actually enrolled and showed up here for Welcome Week and all the activities as we would like to have done. And so I think that really takes home again from a research perspective, figuring out why did they choose other places or did they choose not to go to college at all? We know we're in a different dynamic right now because of the COVID experience. That could have had an impact on it. But it's also one of those things we know we need to be looking at our programs, our offerings, the things that they're excited about and want to be involved in. And are we offering the things that they're looking forward to? Now we're going to get to retention. This is the not so sunny side of the coin. We are at the lowest retention rate, first-time full-time freshmen than we've had in the last decade. And a lot of that has to do with the COVID experience. But it also has to do with things that we need to be doing better with. And I think, again, Dr. Fly mentioned this, it's the relationships, it's the connection. We have to work harder than we've ever done before to connect with the students, interact with them and help them along the way on their journey. And I think I had an experience yesterday where we were talking to a parent on the phone and they were like, I'm coming tonight, I'm getting my child and we're leaving. And at the end of the day, it was really no fault of any experience. It was that they just felt like they didn't get a quick enough reaction to an issue that their son was experiencing. And again, I think that relationship, that interaction that you have with students, all of that matters. The things that you do have a massive impact on the retention of our students. And oftentimes it's more than just, are they going to get the degree that they want? They're wanting that relationship. They're wanting to feel like this is home. This is a place that matters. And that they matter. And so I think that's an important thing that we do each and every day and reminding ourselves, even though we're tired, they're excited, they're ready, they want your full attention and you to be helping them through whatever problems that they may experience. And we talked a little bit about this, a few other folks mentioned this, but it's more than even them being academically prepared sometimes. It may be the resources that they have or the support network that they have. And they may not have those things without you. And so just wanted to kind of highlight that. We've had a lot of successes. But at the same time, there are still things that we know we need to be getting better at. And so get to the punchline on this is that overall update is that we are 1.3% down on headcount and we are 2.8% down on credit hour production. We budgeted for a flat on credit hour production. And so we know we've still got some ground to make up. We've got 2 weeks left before census. And so there's still time for things to change, but they can also change in a bad way as well. But that's not what we expect in this situation. We think that they'll get a little bit better. But at the same time, there's a lot to celebrate here, a lot of nice things, because when we talk about an incoming class, we get to experience that for the next 4 to 5 years. But the retention rate is definitely an element of concern, and we've got to continue to focus in on that. General updates, just wanted to highlight a few pieces here. Our admissions and recruitment and scholarship staff have really focused in on our scholarships this last year. And one of the things we have done is adjusted the amounts and the way we distribute our scholarships. We looked at all of the other schools within the state, and we realized there were some ways that we could have increased our competitive advantage against some of those folks. Because when you looked at our scholarships, we actually give more money than most of the other institutions within the state. But the way we structured it, it wasn't necessarily showing that way or working that way. And so we restructured many of our one-time, one-year scholarships into a 4-year scholarships. And so we rechanged the focus so that they were more 4-year scholarships, the full time that they're here. And so that money amount really kind of shone through and that they could see the competitive advantage from a scholarship perspective of choosing NSU over other institutions. Though we also have no application process. And so when you are admitted to NSU, based on the scores that you've already given us, we're already going to know what kind of scholarships that you are going to receive. And so we can use that as a recruitment advantage in our admittance letters when we send to our students. The other thing is that there's a scholarship committee that will help choose folks as well when we do our scholarships. But you can go online, you can see those changes. Those are in effect for this coming year. So we still have the same structure for this fiscal year. But the next recruitment cycle that we will start in September will have these new scholarships in place, and our process is working so that we can be much more competitive using our scholarships. As Dr. Turner says and mentioned, we have a lot of money that we're giving to students, whether that's through the foundation, but specifically through our tuition waivers that we're giving out to students when they're admitted. This can have a massive impact on that yield rate from those folks that have been admitted, but actually getting them enrolled at this institution. Also wanted to highlight the DEI Task Group. This is a group that Dr. Turner has talked about this before, but was an effort he started when he first came here, and we have advanced that through this DEI Task Group. They are actually going to be at a retreat on Thursday and Friday of this week, really trying to figure out what their goals and what the things that they want to accomplish as a group. But I wanted to highlight who the three co-chairs, or I should say tri-chairs are of this committee. And it's Dr. Jones with the library, Dr. Valdez over in Science and Health Professions, and Amy Hernandez, which is actually a grad student. And so they represent student, faculty, and staff as the tri-chairs of the committee. They have a lot of energy and excitement in the work that they want to do. And you can also talk to Dr. Larson or myself as well if you have any ideas or thoughts about what the group is wanting to do and how you can maybe be a part of what efforts that they're having. Just real quickly too, the communications app. You heard us talk about this last year, but we spent some effort to try to push out a communications app to increase our, or I should say decrease the amount of emails that you get. That app is done and finished. And so if you do the same thing that Peggy talked about, you can use your phone, you can take a picture, and you can download the app. You can also go to the App Store, and it's NSU OK, and you can download it. That actual picture on the right is what the tile looks like. So if you're not really sure what you're looking for, that's the tile. But please download that app. We are going to spend this whole semester really trying to force everything to that app. And then we're going to make the full transition in the spring semester where we're using that. And so you should see a significant decrease in your emails. But again, you're not going to necessarily get all those communication pieces if you don't download the app. And so we're spending the time also training the students on the use of the app and the resources to it. And the cool thing is it connects to many of the things that we've already created. So it's not necessarily, it's going to connect to all of the things that we already have operating and functional on this campus. And so there should be a significant amount of work. We have representation of all the areas. And so you'll see stuff in there from an academic perspective, a student engagement perspective, athletics, alumni. And there's a lot of elements that are going to be working and producing through that app. And if you have questions, please holler at myself or Kelly Jo. Also wanted to highlight again, Dr. Landry already talked about the Tulsa Collaborative and the Tulsa Consortium. And the new director is Dr. Laura Lotta. But really, what I really wanted to highlight about the consortium is that it's a focus on Tulsa. It's meant to be a non-biased, nonpartisan group of folks that are really working on educating the students in Tulsa. And TCC is really trying to get them working to get them to our institution. And the good thing and the bad thing in this scenario is that we have always been the people that got the most students from TCC. We have been the place that most of those students gravitated towards. And through this effort, it's really trying to enhance that, but at the same time, it's made the competitive advantage and things different. And so we know we need to raise our game. We need to work harder at our relationship with TCC, engaging more, because other institutions are engaging more than they ever have from a TCC perspective. And so we have got to continue to enhance our efforts from a recruitment perspective with TCC, because that is the bulk of where our transfer students come. And as a reminder, more than 50% of all of our students are transfer students. The last thing I just wanted to highlight, the disc golf course and the basketball court. The disc golf course is completed. Hole 1 is over by Science and Health Professions. And I'm going to click over real quick just so you can see this. But this is where hole 1 is at. You'll see a disc course, the full sign of the whole course, and it loops around the creek and back over near the branch and the Monument of Forgiveness. And so those are the full 9 holes. During move-in yesterday, I saw a number of students with large bags full of their discs. If you've never played disc golf, it's a pretty competitive sport, and there's a lot of crazy things with the discs. I'd be more than willing to talk to you about it sometime if it's something you're interested, or even go play the course with you. But it's something that our students are pretty excited about, and we will actually have a club competitive sport or team on campus this year, possibly even a few, depending on, we have an event on Friday night to see how many folks are wanting to compete in the collegiate level with disc golf. And then we also have the basketball court that will be ready this semester as well. And what we were really, the goal here was trying to create more outside activities for our students to participate in, but also ways to get engaged and involved within the campus community. I also want to talk about the report of concern. You're going to see emails that have came out and will come out to students reminding them that if they have issues or concerns that they can use that. That's from we have used that for all across the board concerns. It's not just for COVID stuff, but we have also used it last year for COVID things. And so we were reminding students to use that from a COVID reporting perspective so that we can alert folks when we do have students with COVID issues. But it also, it's used for anything. If you're having a concern about a student in class, something that you want support or help with, it's important that you can use that and we will assist you in any way we possibly can. The report of concern is at the bottom of every web page, I think on the right side. Is that correct? Dan, am I remembering that right? So it's on the bottom and it's legitimately says report of concern. So click on that. You will get a number of links to pick which kind of concern you're reporting, and you can do that. That's an easy way for you to communicate with us and so that we can be as helpful as we possibly can with anybody that you are concerned about, you want assistance with. Because there's always going to be times you're going to have stuff going on in your classroom that you're just like, this is beyond my pay grade. I know nothing about whatever this person's experiencing. And we want to be a support with you in helping them be successful. And the last thing is the UC updates. I had a picture here, but you saw banners on the front of the UC. You also see a large sign on the right there that's lit at night. It really kind of highlights what services are in that building because a lot of folks don't know those things. But again, just kind of a facelift from the outside perspective, because we've had a lot of changes in the UC over the years, trying to enhance that experience and the look and feel of that building for our students. And then we will also be doing, this year, we will be doing a study, a space study, looking at things that we could maybe move and adjust in the UC. And so be on the lookout for that. You can talk to Chris Adney or Ms. Lansaw at any point about that as well. And Christy, you are up. Thank you guys very much.
Hello, welcome back everyone to a new and exciting year. Before I get started, I want to quickly share with you something exciting that happened to me about 4 weeks ago. For those of you who don't already know, I became a grandma for the first time. G-Ma, sorry, G-Ma. And I'd like to introduce Lucas Hodge Lansaw. We couldn't be more proud or excited to add him to our family. All right, let's get started. Well, we are in the final stretch to wrap up the seminary hall repairs funded by a $4 million gift from the Cherokee Nation. As you probably noticed, the scaffolding is still up, even though we intended this project to be finished a few months ago. However, as with any project, sometimes when you peel back the layers, more extensive damage is found. That's exactly what happened when we got into the seminary clock tower. Once it was exposed, we found quite a bit of damage. As you can see here in this middle photo, this picture shows you a piece of wood about 8 by 8, reduced down to about the size of a 4 by 4. This damage was caused by wasp and water erosion. To maintain the historical integrity of the structurally compromised components, we are currently sourcing growth pattern and similar wood species for replacement. Also here in the third picture, we actually rejected several mock-ups of the copper work that did not meet the CDA, that's the Copper Development Association, or NSU standards. That work has now been rectified and approved installers are now working and all work is resumed. As you can see here, the copper guttering is going up well now. The interior work is stalled until the exterior envelope is secured, delaying the final touches to our third floor museum and seminary, on third floor of Seminary Hall Museum. We're close, but we're almost there. And as we look at this final rendition, I think it's important to note as we wrap up one round of construction, we're on to another phase. Seminary Hall currently has several non-functioning windows, 132 to be exact. And a complete window replacement package right now for Seminary Hall is currently open for public bids. New windows, which will open up midway, will allow the building to breathe and significantly improve the ventilation in that building. Also in development are design documents for tuck pointing and masonry repairs with historically accurate lime-based mortar that closely matches the color and the original mortar to the building. We will soon also begin reconstruction of Seminary Hall's flooded east wing and renovation to relocate the administrative offices. Activity at Wilson Hall is in full swing, and despite record slowdowns in construction, material manufacturing, and delayed deliveries, this project is still on track for completion in the spring. Wilson Hall will be the new home for the College of Liberal Arts and Flows Cafe, and we wish all projects went as well as this one's going. As Dr. Freeman mentioned earlier, students in intramural teams will enjoy a new outside basketball court for practice and recreation. Goalposts are currently being set and the court will be painted as soon as the concrete's cured. Here I'd like to share with you some pictures, the before pictures for the greenhouse. And as far as I know, it's been vacant as long as I've been here, and that's been a while. And here are some of the after pictures, bringing the greenhouse back to life. Dr. Landry spoke earlier, and this fall we will begin the freshwater sciences and other biology courses in the building. This fall, we're also closing off Lewis Street behind the UC and the Second Century Plaza between Lozier Housing. This city street has long been a dangerous area for our student pedestrians traveling from their dorms across campus. And as you can see here, most where the green space is where current Lewis Street is now. Design is complete, and we're also reviewing mortar samples right now for an analysis to allow us to make repairs to the masonry spill. Right here you see this is the spillway connecting Beta Pond to the town branch. This spot has been a favorite photo opportunity for students and the community alike. And these repairs will help ensure that the area is here for many generations to come. All right, shifting gears, numbers. I'd like to talk about the federal dollars we've received as a part of the higher education emergency relief funds. President Turner referred to them earlier as CARES funds, or I'm sorry, COVID funds, also known as CARES, Carissa, and ARP, depending on the timing of the distribution. To date, we've received a total of almost $37 million in student, institutional, and supplemental funds. Of almost the $15 million in student funding, we have distributed $6.6 million to our students. The first round of the $2.8 million between May and June of 2020, the second round of the $2.8 million in April of 2021, and a partial disbursement was made in April of 2021. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. The second 2.8 was in 2021, and a partial distribution was made in July for the students that were enrolled this summer. So for the remaining $8 million, we're planning to make another disbursement right after fall census date. And then the final funds will be dispersed after we receive recommendation from a committee that was formed to determine the best way to roll out those funds to the most students and to those students who have the most need. If you'd like more information on how exactly they were distributed in the specific details, you can go online to our COVID webpage for more details. And I'll talk more now about the planned uses for the remaining institutional funds. We've estimated almost $9 million in lost revenue using a 5-year average, and we plan on placing these funds in our reserves to replenish those funds. We've also set aside $1.5 million, as I spoke about earlier, for the Seminary Hall windows. $2.9 million will replace our end-of-life switches and allow for expanded Wi-Fi coverage, and I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. $2.2 million will go towards much-needed HVAC repairs, with the priority going first to Lozier Housing, then finishing up Fine Arts Annex, and then Bagley. We will also be adding more Zoom rooms, and we've set aside $1.6 million to raise the 3 vacant high-rise buildings and to build an outdoor classroom and instruction space. Good Wi-Fi coverage has become nearly as important as food, water, and shelter to our college students. Our campuses currently have network switches and Wi-Fi access points that were last updated over 7 years ago, some of them even 10 years old. IT is starting a project, again, funded by the $2.9 million of institutional funds. We will begin this summer to update all the switches and access points on all 3 campuses. We will spend August and September working on the configuration, then we'll begin installing the new devices in the Webb Building and Wilson Hall as a test bed. This will position us to roll out all housing during the month of December, and then the rest of the buildings will be installed in spring of 2022. At the end of this project, we will have installed nearly 1,500 access points and nearly 250 switches and increase our outdoor coverage. The increased number of access points and the new Wi-Fi 6 standard will enhance our wireless experience for all of NSU community. I know we talk about this a lot, but ransomware is a professional business right now, with organizations committed to extorting funds from companies they infiltrate. You've seen the news shutting down pipelines, hospitals, cities, and companies. Just this morning, we heard about one of our phone companies. In 2020, there was a new ransomware victim in every 10 seconds. And phishing attacks account for more than 80% of reported security incidents. Our IT department has started a phishing awareness campaign in which we send out emails to employees with the goal of educating us on all the dangers and tactics used against us. In a July phishing simulation, 14.2% of us not only clicked on, but we also entered data into a simulated Disney phishing email. We are confident that the education will lower this threat. This fall, IT will also begin working on a single sign-on and a multi-factor authentication system designated to make us safer in case your password is ever compromised. Multi-factor authentication is probably something normal you use now in your life when logging into your banks and other services, and it provides you a code so that you can log in safely. Before I jump into some highlights for our opening enrollment, I do want to tell you how happy we are that the contract and the resolution between Blue Cross and Blue Shield and St. Francis Health System has been resolved, and an extended contract for 3 years is definitely comforting to all of us in this region. Please mark your calendars. Our open enrollment will occur for active employees October 20th through November 2nd, and for retirees November 8th to December 6th. This year, we have a change in our benefit enrollment system. Our insurance consortium group has negotiated a new contract with Empyrean, and this new system is in the design phase, and we will test it out in September. We have loaded all the 2021 benefit elections into Empyrean, and this will allow us to have, again, a passive enrollment, which means if you're happy with your benefits, you won't have to do anything again this year. We will continue to provide Blue Cross Blue Shield, Delta Dental, and VSP as our health providers. For voluntary products offered through MetLife, these plans have been migrated over to Voya, who also manages our 403B plans. American Fidelity products are still available. Standard Life for short-term and long-term disability will continue. And we have a new provider, FBA, or Flexible Benefit Administrators, for our COBRA healthcare and flexible spending accounts. As you can imagine, there's a lot more information to be provided to you to help make the best benefit decisions for you and your family. We experienced exceptional participation last year, in our Zoom meetings. Therefore, we are going to schedule some more Zoom meetings this year to provide employees with an overview of all their benefits. Please watch for email communications from HR as those dates haven't been confirmed yet for the sessions. And lastly, I'd like to introduce you to the Perch. Powered by Jagger, the Perch is a streamlined solution for our purchasing needs. And it will be offering a more intuitive approach, which includes a centralized platform for all departments. It replaces the banner requisition process. It has an easier approver process, and it allows access to supplier catalogs where items can be selected and converted to a requisition at checkout. And in a lot of cases, it may avoid the need for a procurement card at all. It's going to be very similar to when you go onto Amazon and you place items in your cart. It will also remember some of the things you purchase. So if you purchase things a lot like IT and facilities, you can pre-fill those departments. Again, thank you all for being here today. I'm very appreciative of all the hard work from my administration and finance team and many others across all of our campuses who help make all of this happen. NSU only works when we all work together, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. Now I welcome Dan to the stage.
Welcome. I want to just touch on a few things with our website and talk about some improvements over this past year. But we currently manage about 4,600 web pages for the institution. That is down about 1,500 pages over this past year as we've removed several duplicated or grossly outdated pages. We've also focused on increasing our search engine optimization, or our SEO, so that our sites perform at its greatest possible level. That included fixing all of our broken links, adding missing descriptions and titles. We also took a hard look at our accessibility standards. We even asked the Office of Civil Rights to come in and work with us and conduct an audit. We had a very good audit. They did provide us a couple suggestions, but our website on all accounts received very high marks for accessibility. We may be losing battery. Oh, here we are. This slide, I just wanted to provide an example of some of our improvements over the past 8 months. And you could see here where we started off on our site scores and then where we ended here in August. Thank you so much to our content managers that worked so diligently on helping improve our website. The website is our primary marketing arm of the institution, and all of the things that we do outside of the website, our print, digital, and other notable items definitely work toward drawing people into the website so they can gain a lot of other information. All right. Do we have a keyboard up here? Or? I see someone starting to drive. Go ahead and advance. Thank you. You can see here some of what the digital marketing looks like, where it's our search engine marketing, Google AdWords, our display ads, streaming radio ads. And just a note here with some of these items, as Dr. Turner pointed out, we are really starting to branch out for our Hispanic speaking populations. And so a lot of our radio ads and commercials, we're actually translating into Spanish, and we'll be releasing those this fall. I did want to share a little bit of information on our website and our ads as they relate to the website. Our impression share, this means the number of times or the percentage of time that our ads show when you do a Google search. And so right now, our impression share is 31.5%. So if you do a relative keyword search for our graduate college, our ad will show at 31% of the time. How does that rank? That ranks number one amongst all of our competitors. As far as the top of the page, those very first 2 or 3 ads that show up when you type something into Google, we show up on the top of our page for our graduate college programs at 71% of the time. This absolute top of the page, this means that we have the very top position. We are number one in terms of delivering that ad, and we do that nearly 37% of the time. Our graduate college, you could see here from our online perspective where we land, both our graduate college and graduate college online, we are number one in the position of impression share. We're very, very proud of that. And you could again see where we land as far as top of the page and absolute number one ad within Google. Go ahead and advance our slides. Thank you. From our undergraduate standpoint, you can see here our impression share, our top of page rate, absolute top of page rate for both the undergraduate programs as well as the undergraduate online programs. Again, we command the number one position in both the undergraduate and undergraduate online programs. We're very, very proud of that. However, as this relates to our top of page positions and absolute top of page positions, we rank consistently below Southeastern. And so what we need to do is we need to improve our keywords, our descriptions. We need to make sure our content is being refreshed regularly, and we need to increase our site authority scores. You get your site authority scores is when you're linking content from our institution sites out to other, for example, Quick Trip, out to other program sites, out to other locations, and then they also link back to us. So again, things we need to improve there. Again, we rank consistently just behind Southeastern in that top of the page and absolute top of the page. And matter of fact, from a national standpoint in our online programs, we consistently are outpacing programs like Arizona State University and the number of ads that we're delivering. We just need to make sure that once we deliver those ads, we want to command that number one position. Because we all know, Ricky Bobby said, if you're not first, you're last. All right. So we want to be number one here. Go ahead and advance. Absolutely. Some of our other notable marketing efforts I've talked about already, and that we've got our Spanish language newspapers, our radio ads that are out there, but we also have a morning show, the Okie Country Morning Show. We're going to be there twice a month throughout this entire fall semester. Some of you may indeed get tapped to be the guest for that morning show. So please, when you see me coming, don't run. All right. This could be a great experience for us all. I did also want to point out the Southern Sports Network. We are the presenting sponsor for the Southern Sports Network. They are broadcasting high school and semi-professional sports in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri. You will find some of our local sports teams throughout this semester. We're really excited about that. Some of those local teams include Vian, Catoosa, Hilldale, Tulsa Central. So again, we're very excited to be a partner with the Southern Sports Network. We also have our partner with VIPE, which is a regional magazine. This provides us an opportunity to showcase some of our students who are on performance scholarships. And here you can see an ad and some of those students here, where we've got someone from the football team, someone from our cheer program, and then also someone from the band. So we're very excited about highlighting those folks who are a part of our local community, reinforcing that NSU is here to serve those folks in our region. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Dr. Turner. We also have e-newsletters, and I want to share with you all that if you have a desire or had a newsletter in the past, that we can create an e-newsletter for you. Our Riverhawks Weekly, also the note from the president. These are examples of some of our e-newsletters. They will run through our website. We're able to bring in news and content directly into those newsletters for you all, so you don't have to go in and retype things. We're also able to bring in a lot of campus events that are already exist out there in our campus calendar. Again, things that you don't have to reinvent the wheel here on, but we want to help you. You can then download that newsletter and send it out to your small groups, or people can actually subscribe to these newsletters and you can send them out automatically every month. I just want to point out here, we've got some campus wayfinding activities. We will have a new event center marquee. We're incredibly excited about this opportunity to really showcase that entrance to campus. As folks are coming in off of 82, to be able to highlight that as an entrance to our main campus, and then also be able to put out all kinds of events and activities, not just our athletic events, but all the things that are happening across campus. I also mentioned here that we've got some new signage going on at the Playhouse. A lot of lighting changes that will take place there. We're excited about some track lighting that will take place down there. Again, pretty happy about that opportunity. And then we'll be doing a campus wayfinding study this fall. As you've noticed, all the construction, everything that's going on in campus, we've got all these fences up. Sometimes that can really distract us as we're trying to find our new locations, and especially if you're a new student to campus. So we want to make sure that our campus wayfinding opportunities are on point. I also talk a little bit here about earned media. We have really increased our earned media position throughout the course of this past year. Earned media are those things that we don't have to pay for. So those press releases, those great stories that you all are producing within your classrooms. Our earned media mentions have increased significantly. Editorials have increased about 22%. And our reach, this is how many opportunities that folks have to see those articles and see us mentioned. We are at 9.8 billion in terms of our reach. We're very, very proud of that. Value, if we would have to go out as an institution and pay for all of this media exposure, it would cost us nearly $91 million in order to earn that. During this time frame, the Oklahoman became one of our top publishers for this previous year. And I really want to give a great shout out here to our staff writers who really have done an amazing job at not only putting out great materials, but also connecting with and growing those relationships with our publishers throughout the state. So thank you all for that. I can also see here our social media mentions have increased by 100% as well. Again, very, very happy with that effort. But yet, all of this exposure does create a bit of a double-edged sword. It means a lot of those journalists and publicists may be reaching out to us in order to get quotes or to comment about from different levels of expertise. If you are contacted by the media, we want you to thank them and refer them back to my office for any official NSU response. And then let us know that they reached out to contact you. We'll work with you to help craft some messaging. However, if you choose to respond and you do so, please note that you're not the official voice of the institution, and you're making that choice to speak on your own behalf and not as the institution's voice. I'll just point out various services that we have. The things that I do want to point out here, again, those press releases, videos that we can produce, booklets that we can produce. And we're really excited to be working with faculty this year to help promote research. We're working closely with David Scott, who is really going to help us tell the faculty research story this year. So again, we're very excited about that opportunity. We have campus tour videos that we shot this spring. We will be producing new videos this fall for both our Muskogee and Broken Arrow campus. We worked with admissions and recruitment this past year to create a history and traditions book. And this booklet is available through our office, but every new student will be receiving one of these books this week while they're here for welcome week. We also have the NSU2 options. We can put our videos, as we've done here with HLC and our animated Rowdy, right onto those video screens. So anything that you all ask us to produce, whether it's a flyer, a billboard, we're going to try to maximize your exposure. And again, get that story out there the best we can. And speaking of the staff and some of these stories, we have some very incredibly and talented folks here on campus. And so we've won some very nice awards this past year that were very highly collaborative efforts. And so you can see here the President's Report came in first place at the Oklahoma College Public Relations Conference. We also came in first place for the View Book. And again, very highly collaborative opportunities to get engaged in marketing and telling our story. I'll be remiss here if I don't also mention the Center for Tribal Studies also won a first place award for their symposium effort. Congratulations, as well as working with our student photographer in order to, again, help tell that story. So congratulations, Center for Tribal Studies. We have some upcoming workshops where we can help you with social media, again, telling your story through earned media opportunities and navigating 5 p.m., which is our workflow software that you all submit story ideas through. At this point, I'd like to welcome back to the stage Dr. Steve Turner.
Remember that I have 6 minutes left from the April employee event, so I think I'm just about down to about 40 seconds. So thank you for your, I always like to finish up with something of a famous Oklahoman. And as you read that, let me just say, let's let hope and optimism prevail for this year. There's a lot of great things going on at NSU. And with your help and the engagement of our students, we're going to have a great year. But the happiest people I've ever met, regardless of their profession, their social standing, their economic status, are people that are fully engaged in the world around them. The most fulfilled people are the ones who get up every morning and stand for something larger than themselves. They're the people who care about others, who will extend a helping hand to someone in need, or will speak up about an injustice when they see it. Who said this? Women Man Killer. Absolutely. What happens when you sit at the front of the class? See what I'm talking about? And technology works, right? The most simple, I mean, how long have we had little 2A batteries or 3A and one little thing? But Annika got us going. Here's the takeaways from certainly Wilma Mankiller. Fully engage, as we get NSU family, fully engage in the world around us. Get up every morning and stand for something larger than ourselves. Care about others. Extend a helping hand and speak up about an injustice when you see it. With that, a little bit of housekeeping. We are doing the coin walk. And when you leave here, please just go directly to the sidewalk that goes from the Be the Change fountain to the front doors of Seminary Hall. I would suggest that you spread out further than you might otherwise to work on distancing. The students are going to come all the way from the fountain to the front door of Seminary Hall. Then they're going to make a left and they're going to go around the building, and then we will do the freshman group photo. Penny and I will join the freshmen and do a photo in front of Bagley Hall because we of the construction area. So please, go directly there. And we're so glad that you're here. Thank you for being with us. Let's make it a great year. See you outside. Thank you.